was the last time you saw Barron?
Is that Barron?
I know this is hard. But do you recognize these boys?
Do they know something?
What they're saying on the news about Barron, I know it's not true.
My son made a complete statement. It's a terrible tragedy.
His kid knows what happened to Barron. He was there.
You are not to do anything without my permission.
Anything that I had to lose, I've already lost. Ethan, I need to talk to you.
Today at 3 p.m., my son, Ethan, went missing from his school.
Did you hurt my son?
You won't hurt me. I know you won't.
What are you looking to build? Maybe I should ask, what are you trying to break?
He's the son of a future senator. You know what that means?
We have to find this missing boy. You can get into a lot of trouble, and I don't want that.
Caleb, why are you doing this?
I wanted Barron to be brave. Why should I want that for myself?
I have worked too hard to build this life.
Barron killed himself because he hated you.
I know that you did this.
Law enforcement is working tirelessly to find him and to bring him home safe.
We're gonna handle this locally.
I took care of it personally. File it closed.
We are confident that Ethan will be home where he belongs.
Hello, my name is Heather Hurt with the NRW, where Nerds Rule the World, and I'm here with Matthew Jensen, who is the cinematographer. The cinematographer. How do you say that correctly? There's 400 different ways.
You got
it. For Barron's Cove, arriving in theaters this Friday. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Heather?
Good. With the film coming up this week, what are your thoughts? What are your feelings? Are you excited? Are you nervous?
I'm definitely excited. I'm so glad that it found its way to theaters. Smaller movies of this type these days generally don't. So I'm glad that, people have the chance to see it on the big screen.
And what this film has a special place in action, in the action genre, because it's a very soft action film in so many ways. There's an underlying theme of family and love and parenthood. So I'm going to just be very honest with this question. Was this a difficult movie to make at a visual level, because you had to tell all of these themes with a whole bunch of action on top of it?
Right. Yeah. I think that, it was a challenge to balance all those elements, because you want the action to be thrilling and compelling, but you also don't want it to overwhelm the fact that this is a dark and sort of morally ambiguous tale, and at the center, it's an emotional tale about losing a loved one, losing a child, and then kind of the repercussions of that. So we were, and on top of that, it's just a smaller movie, so we didn't have enough time to really, shoot these complex action sequences. But that was the appeal of it to me, was to be resourceful and to embrace our limitations, and try to use the camera and the lighting to tell the story and focus on the characters and their performances, rather than overwhelm them with a really clever action sequence.
This just ironically, there's a big push for the new John Wick documentary that talks about how that was a small film that turned into a big one, and how they had to kind of. I know I'm going to get to a question. I promise.
Okay.
But how they really had to learn and adapt on a smaller budget. So you're talking about this smaller budget, especially for scenes that some of which are very tight. The one that really gets me is, of course, when Ethan is backstabbed. They're in a very like small, tight space, and a lot happens there. So with that being said, and with more and more coming out about these cinematic moments that are done on very tight budgets, what was the most difficult element, and maybe the most difficult scene for this film for you?
Well, I would say that probably and this is a spoiler alert, but when the scene at night when the assassins show up was probably the most complicated, because that is something that on a bigger movie you would take weeks to orchestrate, and we had very little time, and we shot it in very small pieces in a couple of different locations, and we were shooting at night with a child actor, and we had to do a big explosion, and then we were combating elements of as they get across the lake, the sun is supposed to be rising while the fire is burning in the distance, and all of that requires a lot of logistics and help from a much bigger crew than we had. So it required us to be very smart about our setups and what we were maximizing every shot, that we were using every shot to tell the story, and every shot had a specific meaning. This wide shot is going to show their relationship to the explosion. It's the timing of the explosion. Then you have to get the performance of the reaction and, that kind of stuff. And we were always combating the clock because we were shooting in the summer. We had shorter nights. So, and we also had a limited time with Christian. So all of those things were conspiring against us. But we managed to pull off a sequence that I'm pretty happy with.
That's awesome. That is a dramatic, definitely the most like dramatic scene in the film. Once again, spoiler alert. But with that being said, I do want to actually talk about some scenes that kind of happened like right before that and like right after. The film plays a lot with color, which you mentioned at just at the beginning there a little bit. There was a lot of reds and a lot of blues in this film, or in cases of like sheer like frustration, there were some really deep browns that just kind of enveloped the image. Why play with color so much, and how is that beneficial to someone who is potentially on a smaller budget? Because we know that that's actually a really developmental beneficial part to it.
Yeah, I think, well, from the beginning, when I talked to Evan about the movie, he had a very strong sense of wanting the film to be in these sort of color contrasts. And he favors kind of richer, deeper colors, which is something that I like very much. And I think that's when we first talked about me doing the job. He was kind of laying out his sort of aesthetic for the movie, and it's something that I know very well, and have done a lot of. So I think there were a couple of ideas driving it. One is this idea of the water, and that the water is a safe place for Garrett's character. And that the water kind of opens up this sort of honesty. And so we used these blues and cyans to kind of represent Caleb feeling safe and honest. And it's in the aquarium, and then it's later when he's confessing about his growing up and kind of what revenge and hatred can do to a person. So that shows up a couple of times. The every color sort of took on some significance, but it was mainly the idea behind a lot of the color was to provide contrast. So you have the browner, warmer worlds of Benji, and his like earth toned house, and everybody's in black suits, and there's kind of a somber, serious aspect to Benji's world, and then you alluded to we had talked about the blue and the cyan, and the red was just we used in a couple places to add an element of danger or warning or something along those lines. Caleb dealing with some emotions that were kind of welling up underneath him, that sort of thing.
Lovely. I want to talk about the word revenge because you and Evan both mentioned that a couple times. That this is a revenge story, and in so many ways it is. But honestly, to me, when I was watching it, that was really the underlying part of this. It wasn't so much about revenge. It was definitely about revenge in like the first third, but then things really shift for the latter part of the film. Do you consider this a revenge story? Is that the story that you helped develop?
Well, what I loved about the script is that it's not simplistic in the way that it deals with the concept of revenge. So many revenge movies are one note, in that, once the main character is wronged, they pursue justice to the very end of the movie. And Caleb kind of comes to realize that revenge isn't really the answer, and he starts to have a different relationship with his own bent and need for answers and need for justice. And what he starts to embrace throughout the course of the movie is empathy. And I thought that was compelling. That was one of the main parts of the script that attracted me to it in the first place.
That's beautiful. And when you say empathy, actually, for me, it's honestly that it's not so. And you said the word, he embraced it. He has it. Like, you see it when he like talks to Ethan. Like, it's there. The embracing is so important. And that's such a lovely part of the story. So my last question for you today is kind of that cliche one. Now that it's finally hitting theaters this Friday on June 6th, what would you like the one thought in audiences' heads to like the one thought when the audience leaves the theater seeing Barron's Cove? What's the one thought you would like them to have?
I would love for it to spawn a conversation about empathy and about the nature of recognizing humanity in your opponent.
Nice and simple. Nice and simple. The cyclical nature of abuse is one for me. Like, watching this is that how abuse spurns abuse, and it's very interesting. Matt, thank you so much for your time today. Barron's Cove arrives in theaters on June 6th, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Nerds rule the world.
Pleasure chatting with you. Love to all my nerds who rule the world.
Yeah. Nerds rule the world.
Yes, we do.
Thanks. Nerds rule the world. Thank you.
I love the nerds ruling the world, so more power to you.
Patrick, what up, man? And yes, they do. Nerds rule the world, kid.
Yes, sir.
I'm one
Thank
of
you.
Awesome. Kuya P, nerds rule the world. Hello.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Oh,
Nerds rule the world.
I got.
It's in the title of your show, like Nerds Rule the World. Like, I want more Black weirdos on screen, and I don't feel like we ever get to see that very much.
Thank you so much. Nerds do rule the world.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nerds Rule.
Love it.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Julian.
Nerds rule. Yes.
Rock on. I love it. Thank you so much.
It's good to see you. I love Nerds Rule the World.
But yeah, there's a heavy nerd component, man.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if you ask me, nerds rule the world. So
Absolutely.
And you're right, nerds do rule the world.
We're just the best.
Yes.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
It's your boy Kuya P. Nerds rule the world. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you.
They rule the world all right.
Yes. Take care, Tony. Thank you, guys.